Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Stop them. An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army.
Welcome to Eradicating Programmed Ignorance, brought to you by the Liberty Beacon Project and broadcast on TLBTV. You really got to visit that site. It's great. Rebecca, we have done such a really, really fine job of bringing some of the most phenomenal people into this project, and we're all very proud of it. So visit TLBTV.com. Lots of shows, lots of really, really good hosts. But that's not why we're here today. We're here today to bring you an individual who is doing something about something I believe is severely understated in this country, under-recognized in this country, and the dangers it actually puts forth to humanity probably far outstrip things like GMOs or even vaccines. This is something that literally affects the health of the planet. And we're not just talking about the human beings, although we are also affected. It is the biosphere. Let me explain something to you people. When the biosphere says good night, so does humanity. And what we are talking about is, yes, geoengineering. What we are talking about is humanity arrogant enough at this point in its technological advancement to play God. We are changing the weather patterns of this planet. We are raining microscopic particles or nanoparticles of aluminum down on people on a daily basis. We are poisoning the water. We are poisoning the soil. We are changing the weather. And we are literally wreaking havoc on the biosphere. This cannot be understated. This is a subject that needs huge attention. We're getting more attention on the vaccines. I'm proud of that. And I think the Liberty Beacon Project had something to do with that. We're getting more action on fluoride. And I'm proud of that. And I think the Liberty Beacon Project had something to do with that. So on and so forth. But geoengineering affects the entire planet, the entire biosphere. Take a look, just take a look. Do a search on Google or Bing when you get a chance on how many species have gone extinct in the last 2 generations. Probably more than have gone extinct in the last 5 centuries. Why? Stop and think about this. The guest we have today is not only somebody who advocates that we perform activism on this scenario, and that's what it is. It's a constantly ongoing scenario, but he steps up to the plate to do something. And that's what I'm going to let him tell you about, because what he needs to do, what he wants to do is something that's going to benefit this entire community. Rebecca, I could go on for 2 hours. Why don't you please tell us a little bit more about Jim before we bring him in?
Absolutely. I've got to tell you, though, what's really interesting is a lot of times we think that people who are activists, we have a certain image that comes to mind. And sometimes we even picture them in business suits and running into different offices and trying to promote certain agendas and things like that. But I've got to tell you, all of us have some type of activism in our heart. And those of us who are just, the normal everyday citizen out there, those are the ones that make change, because the passion is truly there within their heart and they can feel it, and they make changes because they share that passion and they've researched and they've spent a lot of time doing things that are going to benefit everyone as a whole. And what's really nice about our guest today is, in his role. He's a forever Boy Scout, okay? And he has been just in love with so many things, from being a programmer to an artist. And he has a passion for music, which all of this really, if you think about it, music, the world is the symphony, you know, it just so many components to what we share and what we make out there. And so really, with what is instilled inside, it's really interesting to hear how this is being played out, because he's spent 7 years dedicating his life in understanding and reporting truth. And the truth is in weather modification. And so it's really interesting what he's going to present with us today, because what he does is represents people like himself, citizens out there that that need to share more and learn more about different things in pollution and things that are going on with the climate. He's lectured at Ed Griffin's conference in global warming. He actually has an event that's coming up that is extremely important. I think our audience is going to be very, very interested in learning more about. And there's so many things that he is just really prominent in. And I'd like to bring him in right now, because I could go on and on and on about the things that he shares, but really we need to talk about what is coming up and the things that he is most passionate about in sharing with our viewers. And so I'd like to welcome to the show, Jim Lee.
Well, thank you for having me.
Jim, hold on 1 second, because I have been trying, and Rebecca's like me. When she's talking, if you're going to try and pry your way in there, it's tough. But listen to me. You just made a perfect monologue. But what you started out with, describing what, say, sheeple, okay, are convinced is an activist, are what people like you and me and Jim call lobbyists.
Yes, and that's kind of where I was going, so you nailed it.
All right, Jim, look, you know what? We've known each other for a while. You've known about the Liberty Beacon Project for a while. You're somebody who helps us behind the scenes to make things work quickly, to make them work well, so that they appear, great to the people who go to our websites. But there is so much else you do outside of that realm. You are a true activist, because not only do you research and write, but you get off your ass and you do things. You go to conferences, you make records, you make recordings, you present information. So you personify the word activism. What I'd like you to do is just go into, for the next couple of minutes, what you have coming up, what the significance and the importance is of it, and what you wish to present and what you wish to take away from this conference.
Okay, sure. I'm going to the 21st conference on planned and inadvertent weather modification. It's in Austin, Texas, at the 98th annual American Meteorological Society's meeting. Going to be a lot of weather nerds there, a lot of very pompous PhD holding smart asses who troll Facebook and tell people who talk about chemtrails that they're conspiratards. And I'm basically going to walk up to them and show them how very little they understand about that topic, embarrass them in front of their colleagues, and hopefully they'll get their feces consolidated and quit acting like jackasses on Facebook. Furthermore, I intend to describe the 100-year history of weather modification, which I have created at weathermodificationhistory.com. And I'm going to tell them, sorry, but I memorized all that. So if you attempt to lie to me in the next 30 seconds, I'm not going to take it well. It is going to be recorded, and it's going to make you look bad, because the people later who are going to watch this recording are going to realize that I just quoted that shit word for word. So my purpose in going to the Weather Mod Conference is twofold. One, to dispel any more of this conspiracy aspect of the weather modification world. Basically, there's a bunch of YouTubers, radio jockeys, everybody out there who thinks they know about weather control. I not only read it, I created the most informative timeline educational resource on the internet, period, point blank. James Roger Fleming's asking me for citations. So my material's been stolen, disseminated, and given away sans my credit for 7 years, and I liked it that way. The difference is the people who were stealing my material back when I was resonated on resonated.com, fighting with Dutch sense about harp rings. It's been a long road. And my material's all over the internet, and I pretty much have changed the game up. I know that. The difference is I'm no longer going to stand by and watch people idly take my material, turn it into a fear porn storm, sell it on a book or their latest little documentary, and never tell the whole story. Or for that matter, just say, hey, the people screwing with this planet, screwing with the weather, geoengineering, they're all right here. They're going to be in Austin, Texas from the 9th through the 11th, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, at the 98th American Meteorological Society. And I know this because I've actually talked to every one of these guys who run these websites. Every one of you famous fools who talk about chemtrails, geoengineering, whatever. You've talked to me multiple times on the phone by now. You know it. And they know it. So I have told them over the years, hey, Solar Radiation Management 2015 conference is going to be held in the UK. Please tell your people. You're a geoengineering related website. You might want to warn people that they should go there and protest. Problem is crickets. So really, there is not a single fucking activist in the house for inflection.
Okay.
I take this very serious. Beat me later.
No. I'm not going to beat you. I'm not going to beat you. I do want to jump in for 1 second. Okay. And the reason I want to jump in is because there is, and you put this eloquently, Jim, there is a large segment, I'm not saying a majority, but a large segment of the population out there who do believe that anybody who believes in geoengineering is wearing a tinfoil hat. And to them, I like to say, okay, because I live out in the middle of nowhere in Arkansas in the Ozarks. All right. There isn't a major airport within hundreds of miles of me. But if I go outside and I look up into the sky and I see 10 lines going this way and I see 10 lines going this way, and 2 hours later, my sunny sky is now a putrid gray solid blanket. Tell me how that is normal. Are you going to try and convince me that, look, a dozen jumbo jets had nothing better to do than to play tic-tac-toe over my house in the middle of nowhere? Anybody who can't see this, Jim, is literally running around with their head buried so far up their butt, we need to pump them sunshine.
Yeah, I agree with you. And here's the problem. Like for the last 3 years, I've tried to educate people on jet fuel. And the problem is, got a whole bunch of, dumbasses responding to me. Jim Lee doesn't believe the conspiracy, or Jim Lee's a disinfo shill. I mean, the majorist websites are currently talking shit about me because I talked about jet fuel for a while. Here's the problem. What you just described to me, you know how it's possible? Skynet. Everything, and I'm going to explain to you in graphic detail right now in less than 30 seconds how this shit works so every jackass can hear it at the same time. There is a computer called NextGen, NEXTGEN. NextGen is the next generation transportation system. It's a supercomputer. It routes all the flights, period. There are highways in the sky. I'm going to be mapping them all out on Climate Viewer 3D at climateviewer.org. So you can see where those grids are coming from very shortly on my map. Furthermore, the supercomputer has something attached to it called the Aviation Environmental Design Toolkit, the AEDT. This designs your environment. Can I get an amen? So
Amen.
The reason why it works the way it works is because if the Aviation Environmental Design Toolkit tells planes where to fly on lines in the sky that creates grids, and they tell them when to burn the fuel and how many clouds that's going to create, not to mention noise pollution. So they're actually a supercomputer telling the damn pilot everything to do. And in most cases, the pilot's letting the computer automatically do it. So if they basically handle takeoff and landing,
that's
hit
it.
The fucking button. The supercomputer does the driving, tells them when and where to burn based on environmental design specifications that were set out in the previous software, which was called SAGE. MFer, I will do this all day. So when you're talking about chemtrails as it relates to Delta Airlines making clouds in your sky, I have a hashtag Cirrus Clouds Matter, because they do. And Ken Caldera, after 5 years of calling me a conspiratard, wrote a paper called Cocktail Geoengineering.
Yes.
And then he said the scary words, we may never have to geoengineer the planet like David Keith and I have been talking about if we just melt cirrus clouds away. And that is called cirrus cloud seeding or cirrus cloud thinning. So while they're calling you a conspiratard on the internet, Ken Caldera was a co-writer on the IPCC report on contrail-induced cirrus clouds, wherein he said they don't do shit. Then wrote a cocktail geoengineering paper where he said, oh, by the way, if we just get rid of the cirrus clouds, we may never have to geoengineer. And I can show this, prove this in a court of law. All of these are facts. The problem is nobody wants to understand the science. They really don't. I spent 7 years reading this stuff to understand it intimately so that I could take this message to I did a GoFundMe to get my ass there. Basically, like I have 2 kids. I got a 1-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old daughter. I got a wife, and my wife's grandmother has Alzheimer's. We take care of her. I have a homestead I'm working on, chickens and stuff like that. So my dad owns a trailer park. I don't get none of that money. One day, maybe I will. But until then, we's poor, we happy. We don't need freaking money. And I do everything I do for the good of this. So I'm trying to get to Austin. I'm doing a GoFundMe. A link is at the top of climateviewer.com. Or you can type in climateviewer.com/WXMOD 2018. That's WXMOD 2018. And that'll automatically forward you to the GoFundMe.
Jim, that link is going to be in the article that this show's embedded in.
I appreciate it.
So everybody will have it. Okay.
Thank you,
Go
sir.
ahead, Rebecca.
Jim, I think some of our viewers are going to be wondering specifically what your role is. It's obvious that you have the knowledge there and you have the information that's already placed so that people can see it in their hands. So they're wondering maybe, so if I fund Jim to get to Austin, what exactly is he going to do? Is he going to have a table there? What exactly is he going to have as far as literature that's going to be there? And how is that going to impact the conference itself in a peaceful way?
Well, I sent you an infographic. I hope you'll attach that as well to the article, but it's basically 10 technologies to control the weather today. I have an article up on climateviewer.com. You can go through and read that. But basically, I'm going to print this thing out and I'm going to laminate it so that when I walk up to these meteorologists and stuff, I can basically go, hi, I'm here on behalf of the internet. We know about this and point at it. So they can't argue with me. And then if they attempt to argue it with me, I can go, which one do you disagree with? Because I'll gladly talk to you about it as long as you're willing to stand here and take a tongue lashing.
And be filmed.
Yes. And I'm bringing an Emmy award-winning videographer named Jerry Day with me to record all of this so we can hope.
That's what we needed to hear.
We can hopefully have some kind of cool footage where I don't want to make promises about, I don't want to say the D word, but I don't know what we're going to do with the footage. I was told not to say the D word. So basically I want to, go there, ask questions, record it. I have permission from the AMS to record it. I already talked to their press office, so I've got permission to record any of these scientists as long as they agree. I will be attending all their classes, so they're going to be presenting for 3 days on their technology. So it's mostly like 2 days of cloud seeding projects worldwide and 1 day of geoengineering. And I'm going to be sitting in the class with the presenters. They're going to be up front with a PowerPoint. When they're done, they take questions and answers. And guess what? I did all through high school, middle school, hand in the air. So I'll be asking questions and that'll be recorded for perpetuity by the AMS and available on the AMS website forever. So you're going to get to hear me ask questions to all these guys when they're done giving their little spiel. And then I'll meet them out in the hallway and say, do you mind if I interview you? Alternatively, on the floor of the Austin Convention Center, there's going to be booths for like all the latest weather radar, all the new latest weather tech and a bunch of weather meteorologists. National Weather Service head will be walking around, walk right up to him. Hey, man, we don't like weather control. We don't like the secrecy behind it. Will you support my two-step solution to geoengineering and the secrecy behind it? It's called the Environmental Modification Accountability Act of 2018. It's a law. It's kind of a add-on to the 1978 weather warfare ban called NMOD. Problem is, you could never catch anybody modifying the weather so you couldn't hold them to account. So what I want to do is require everybody to give a 48-hour notice before you screw with the weather worldwide, and create a sensor network worldwide to catch people who modify the weather.
Okay, this is really good information, because I think we're going to have a variety of viewers here on from one end of the spectrum to the other. Ones that are extremely passionate, and others that say, yeah, I'd like to kind of get involved, but I really don't want to, you know, create something that's whatever. And you have just really explained, you've shared your passion in this, but you've explained you're going to take their, you know, classes, you're going to learn about what's coming up, but you're also going to point to the education piece and really position this so that those that are in there who may not have had the material that they need to be educated in what is actually happening out there gets that. And so this is where we make change. And I think that this is a really good thing. So our viewers do have an understanding of what's going on. It isn't just going out and creating some big, you know,
I intend to open a new dialogue. That's really my goal, is that I know what the public's perception of these projects are. I am intimately involved in that. I know how the scientists work. I know who they are, what they do. What I'm hoping to do here is bridge the gap between poo throwing and actual understanding, and say, we all agree that, you know, geoengineering and weather modification are happening. We know it, you know it, okay. We know that weather warfare is also occurring. You know it, we know it, long documented history. What we're saying is that the commonality is the people of the internet and you both don't like weather warfare. You want to geoengineer in the future. You cannot without these sensors. And we can't take a step forward without protecting the people of Earth, without having sensors to detect people screwing with the weather. So that's what I propose. That's my solution. And it's kind of like nuclear warfare. At some point, you got to say, everybody, time out. We need to know when people are shooting off nukes. So we did. They created the International Monitoring System. It is, to this day, monitoring for nukes. We do not have a monitoring system for weather warfare.
Well, that's really interesting. Roger, I think that this is really great because when you have, what I'm hearing from him is passion, education, and the key is a solution. Because a lot of people go to places, they want to either protest, or they want to make a good point, or they want to lobby, or whatever the case may be, but they don't have a solution at hand that people can not only see what is exactly happening, but how it can be resolved. And that, to me, is huge.
Well, I got to tell you, as far as the topic today, geoengineering, we're coming close to the end of the show here. It's a topic that is amongst the top 3, as far as I'm concerned, as far as implications on humanity and the planet. Nuclear war is the quickest way to snuff out humanity. The next quickest way is to mess with the weather. And that is happening on a huge scale. And Jim, we appreciate what you're doing. We will support you in any way we can. And we appreciate you coming on and letting everybody know what you're going to do. You've got about a minute, my friend. Can you give us a wrap up?
Yeah, you can hear all about my solution. It's called the Environmental Modification Accountability Act of 2018. It is available at climateviewer.com/NMOD. That's ENMOD. I like to make these short URLs so you can remember it, pass it along. So climateviewer.com/NMOD will get you to my solution. It has a long history of legal backing behind it. There's also a Dr. James Lee from the American EDU who said almost identically the same thing as me. I hope to meet him one day. But he said, let's create a multilateral registry of cloud seeding projects. So basically the commonality of all these things is weather warfare was banned when I was 2 years old. And they never made any way to catch somebody doing it. The U.S. government was busted over Vietnam in the 70s. That's why the law got passed. It was called Operation Popeye. So we know weather warfare is a thing. That some of the testimony for that is still classified to this day, which means they're still protecting policies and procedures. So the bottom line is this: weather warfare is still a thing. It is not going away. It will only get worse. Ahmadinejad says the European Union stole his reign with technology, and it hit 156 degrees one summer. Right now, there are people freezing to death because a big earthquake hit Iraq and
Mm.
Iran right on the border.
Mhm.
This kind of geophysical warfare is a serious concern at this point. We're way past just a concern. It's a necessity for us to protect humanity. And the only way to do that is to actually have sensors that can monitor the environment at all times and display it to the public, but have a secondary system owned by the people. I call it Climate Viewer. I'm building a unit to put in your backyard that will stream your sky, your aerosols, your temperature data real time to Climate Viewer 3D at climateviewer.org. And the idea being that we will have a network that's ours and they will have their network. And if either one gets cut off, we still have a backup and there's always an eye watching. So,
Okay. All right. That was a little bit more than a minute, but thank you for the information. I'm just sad that, well, we're going to have to do another show, and we're going to have to do
Yes.
a show not associated with your GoFundMe. That's the point of this show. That's what I want everybody to understand. Okay. We want to fund Jim's trip to this conference. All right. And inside the article that this video is embedded in, you will find links to the GoFundMe. You will find links to his website. You will find links to his solutions to issues. All of these links are available to you. Just look in the article this show's embedded in. Jim, I want to thank you for the time. I know you've got another show to go on in a little bit, so I'm hoping that, we pass you around and get as much information out as we can, and hopefully we can make it so that you can not only be there, but you can take some beautiful videos and you can eventually show all of us just how embarrassed these people really are when the truth is stuffed in their face.
It's going to be epic. I'm looking
All
forward
right.
to it.
Rebecca, any closing statements?
Thank you so much, Jim, for the research that you've done and for coming on and taking the time also to have a solution in creating something that people can actually use. And I'd love to hear more about that, and we definitely would love to have you back on the show.
I appreciate that.
Jim, hang in for a few seconds after we go off air. There's something I'd like to discuss with you, but to everybody listening, this has been Eradicating Programmed Ignorance, and it's something that we really, really attempt to do every single day at the Liberty Beacon Project. It is brought to you by TLBTV and the Liberty Beacon Project. We wish you all a very pleasant day, and thank you so much, Rebecca. You're always the consummate co-host. Bye.
Thanks for watching.